Hey guys, this is Candle. Hopefully you're hearing it a little bit better today. I had to turn up the gain on my mic. This is going to be probably a fairly short video today because I do have a decent stack here, but I haven't really played any of them yet. I just got home from the store a little bit ago. And to be honest, a lot of these, pretty much, I'm probably not going to play for a little bit. Now I'll explain why towards the end of the video, but we'll go ahead and get things started here. We're going to start off with Onimusha Warlord. So there's a new Onimusha game coming out in sometime in the future, in the next year or two probably, and I've been wanting to give these a try at some point. I do have the HD version of this on Xbox, but as far as I know, that's the only one to have gotten an HD remaster at some point, so I kind of wanted to start getting the other games as well, which means needing to start somewhere. And so I picked up the first one on the PS2, and it's kind of interesting because this is set in feudal Japan, but it has some slight horror vibes to it, and that's because this is a game that kind of started as a prototype, an early prototype for Resident Evil 4, and this isn't the only game series to spawn out of Resident Evil like that. The Devil May Cry games also did so. Devil May Cry was probably the most famous of the Resident Evil 4 prototypes that they did not move forward to Resident Evil 4 with, before going with like Leon Kennedy and so on, with stuff with like that. So this is much more of a hack and slash game with some horror vibes and set in feudal Japan, so I'm definitely interested in giving this a try. Probably not going to play this version. I'll probably play the HD remaster on Xbox, or maybe I'll pick up the PS4 version of that. I'm not sure, but I will have to play the PS2 version of Onimusha 2, Samurai's Destiny. So like I said, this is an entire series. I think there's like 5 or 6 games, I want to say, but I did pick up the second one here as well as the third one. That's all they had at the store I was at, unfortunately. Otherwise I would have gone for like the entire thing, but they had 1 through 3, and that's it. I'll have to do more research to see what other games are part of this, but I'm pretty sure that that there's like 5 or 6 games. Anyways, another sequel I picked up, and one that I might be willing to play more soon, is Drakengard 2. So this is probably the most expensive game of the lot I got. Everything else was like 5, 10, 15 bucks, maybe up to like 20, 25. This one cost almost 100, and it's no wonder why, because this is a hard game to find. I've been looking for this for years, especially with the manual and everything. And so this is the second Drakengard game. I don't know if it's a direct sequel to Drakengard 1 or just set in the same world or what, but definitely glad to play this because I've played through 1. I enjoyed it, and I have had 3 sitting on my shelf for years, but I've never played it because I didn't have the second one. And this is also the same franchise that spun off Nier. Nier takes place in kind of an alternate universe, spinning off from one of the dark endings from the original Drakengard. So I'm very much interested in playing this. For those who are unaware, Drakengard is kind of a dark fantasy take on the Dynasty Warriors formula from Square, but it also mixes in some light Panzer Dragoon, rail combat from Dragonback gameplay as well. So definitely interested in trying this out at some point as well. Speaking of other infamous games, I picked up Grand Theft Auto 3. Never played it before. I've never actually played any Grand Theft Auto game, despite having Vice City on my shelf, and despite having GTA 5 on Epic Games Store. I've never actually played a Grand Theft Auto game. I'd like to start from GTA 1 and work my way forward from there, but I do know that the series goes in a major, GTA 3 is kind of a very pivotal shift, not just for the franchise, but for gaming in general. It's one of the first big open world sandbox games, and kind of everything was copying after it after this. And this was also the first game to really go heavy on the story, I think. I don't think GTA 1 and 2 or the other various early GTA spin-offs really went hard on the story. But beyond that, I also picked up GTA San Andreas, so now I own all 3 of the main GTA games on PS2. I do believe there are a couple other spin-offs that are I think it's mostly just ports of the PSP games on PS2, like Chinatown Wars, I want to say, got a PSP spin-off, and I think there was a Liberty City one as well. But definitely glad to add this to my collection. I do kind of wish it was the Black Label version rather than the Red Greatest Hits label, but unfortunately the only copy they had of the Black Label didn't have the manual, and with somebody standing right beside me who works for the store, I didn't want to try to swap manuals. So I ended up getting the greatest hits version. That's fine. I don't mind that so much. You know, they're not ugly, and I do have a number of other greatest hits games on there. I'm relying on natural lighting. That's why it's kind of dimmed a bit right now. There must be a cloud overhead. Anyways, this is an entirely PS2 update video. So carrying on with that, I picked up a game which isn't, from what I've heard, it's not very good, but it is interesting. And that is Peter Jackson's King Kong, the official game of the movie. From what I understand, this is probably the best version of this game, but it's not a particularly good game. Noodle did a kind of video exploring the various versions of this game and like all the interesting things that they did a couple years ago, and that's kind of what turned me on to it. So I'm finally glad to add this to my collection. Moving along, though, I have the PS2 version of Tomb Raider Legend. Now, I have never played the PS2 version. I do need to at some point. It is available for play on. It's kind of loud outside. Do I? Oh, great. I don't know if you can hear it. The lawn company's coming through, I guess. So this is the PS2 version. It is available for download on PS5 and I think PS4 through PlayStation Network, PS Plus, and stuff like that. So I'm interested to see how this compares to the Xbox 360 original, because this was a cross-gen game, where the last-gen version came out on the PS2 and I think maybe the Wii, and the next-gen version with like all the updated visuals, you know, better gameplay and stuff, was on the 360 before eventually being ported, and on PC, I think, before eventually being ported to PSP. So definitely glad to add this to my collection, especially since I'm a huge Tomb Raider fan. One game I did not realize had gotten a PS2 version was Tomb Raider Underworld, which is the sequel to Tomb Raider Legend. They're part of a trilogy. It's Tomb Raider Legend, Anniversary, and Underworld. I don't think Anniversary got a port to PS2, because this game came out on 360, PS3, and PS2. Obviously, I have it in my hand. Also PSP. Anniversary, however, started out as episodic DLC for Tomb Raider Legend on the 360 before getting a standalone version on the 360, and then it got ported over to PS3 alongside Legend, which I don't know if that's the let me check. So yeah, here's the PS3 version of Tomb Raider Underworld, and it's also included in the Tomb Raider trilogy, which includes Tomb Raider Legend, Tomb Raider Anniversary, and Tomb Raider Underworld, remastered in high definition, exclusive bonus content, and so on. I don't know if the Legend version on this is the 360 or the PS2 version. I don't know, and it doesn't specify. It just says, you know, remastered for HD. Yeah, Tomb Raider Legend, Tomb Raider Anniversary remastered for HD resolution. I'm guessing the Xbox 360 version was 480p or 720p. Where are they? Ah, yeah. I'll pick that up in a second. So yeah, these three games. So Legend, 480p, 720p. So it is high definition, but it's not, you know, true high definition. Oh, this only goes to 720p as well. So the fact that it says remastered, maybe it is the PS2 version. I'm not sure. Tomb Raider Anniversary on the 360 says 720p, 1080i, and 1080p. So who knows? Who knows? Anyways, still glad to add that to my collection. I think that means I have all of the Tomb Raider PS2 games now. I'm not entirely sure. I might have to double check that, but I'm pretty sure. So anyways, moving on. I also got Super Bust-A-Move, which is this neat little puzzle game. You can kind of see it on the back here. So definitely interested in trying that out. It was only like $4 or $5. I also picked up Ace Combat 5 and Ace Combat 4. I've never played the Ace Combat games before, but I've heard they're pretty good. These are, you know, modern fighter jet, you know, dogfighting games and stuff like that. I have to use modern in quotes now because, you know, this was modern like 20 years ago. So, you know, who knows how things have changed now. But definitely interested in trying these out. I don't know if they're based on real fighter jets or if it's supposed to be like alternate history, near future sci-fi, that kind of stuff. I'm not sure. I have to check that out. But definitely glad to add these to my collection. I do want to play these at some point, but this is another thing where I kind of want to start at the beginning of the series, work my way forward, so I have to get, Ace Combat 1 through 3 as well. Oh. That's my privacy shield. Alright, so finally, rounding things out at the end here, and I am... Okay, never mind. I thought I was going to be disappointed. Never mind. Thinking about something else entirely. So this is Powerdrome. And this is, speaking of near future, this is actually a sci-fi futuristic racing game where you are on these kind of, hovering, flying cars type things, like you can kind of see on the background here. So it's kind of giving me a little bit of Wipeout, except these might be closer to, I think these are single occupant, so it's kind of like Wipeout meets Jet Moto a little bit. And so I'm definitely interested in giving this a try as well at some point. But anyways, like I said, I'm probably not going to be playing most of these games in the near future in part because there's a lot of stuff coming out in the next couple months. That's why most of everything I got here was pretty cheap to just, throw into my collection. But, so there's a lot of new stuff coming out in the next couple months, next couple days. I mean, I'm already playing Gears of War Reloaded on my Xbox Series X. And in the next couple days, we've got Metal Gear Solid Delta and Lost Soul Aside coming out, and there's more stuff, throughout the fall and stuff that I'm looking forward to playing, and I don't have a lot of free time for actually playing games right now. Also, with these being PS2 games, I would much rather play them in as good quality as I can, and so my choices are either to pull out the CRT that's currently in my closet, or stick with my RetroTink 2X to run it on my big screen HD TV. And I would like to play it on my big screen HD TV. So I think what I really want to do is wait for a while and see if I can't get like a RetroTink 4X or a 4K or a 4K Pro, so that I can get the best possible image out of my PS2. Because the 2X does all right, but it's not much better than, it's really not all that great. It gets the image on the screen and it doesn't look terrible, but it doesn't look as clean and sharp as like a proper 4K upscaler would. So that's kind of the reason why most of these are going to kind of sit here. Like I said, I do want to play at least Onimusha 1, and I would like to play through the rest of them before the new one comes out. And I do want to play through Drakengard 2 at some point. And part of the reason why I finally got Grand Theft Auto, GTA 3 and GTA San Andreas now, is because I would like to play through those before GTA 6 comes out. Especially Vice City before 6 comes out, because 6 takes place in Vice City. So anyways, that is it for now. I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Please remember to comment, rate, and subscribe.